We have planted the seeds and watered the spring football talk show garden with yet another edition of Spring Football Has Sprung. Eugene Oba with you. Glad to see you. Glad to be here on this, the eve of the first ever United Bowl in our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. Maybe if you counted the previous two UFL championships, you might make the case that this is United Bowl free. Well, maybe I'll ask Mike Rapoli about that if I see him at the United Bowl. Mike, come on the show. We don't bite much. But anyway, I know that there is another kind of football that is going to be happening later tonight that you may be looking forward to, depending on how you view things, USA versus Paraguay. But there's going to be Gridiron tomorrow, and 50 Cent is going to be the halftime performer. It's going to be great. But in the meantime, I'm going to have a few pennies worth of thoughts on this show. I'm going to talk about why the United Bowl will not score an own goal, why I think that this is going to be a great look for this league. I'm also going to talk about why I believe what I believe Anthony Becht has in common with the Dallas Cowboys. However, that's good or not so great, you'll be the judge of that. And of course, we are going to have our United Bowl pick'em segment. But as we kick things off with this special edition of this show, what a performance this past Sunday by the teams in this league, in these semifinal games. I mean, if you looked at the Fox number, I was looking at it earlier on, a little over 1 million viewers. That was great. This was up from last year's comparable game. Ratings are up. You love to see it. You really, really, really do. Congratulations to both the Defenders and the Kings for making it into tomorrow afternoon's game. I mean, the performances were just really, really great, especially from Jason Bean, by the way. And the performance of the Defenders will be contingent now. The Defenders, they've got home field advantage in this. And it's going to depend on the performance on the day. Now, previously, before the game that aired on Sunday, Jason Bean's performance, you look at this, in week 10, 46% completion percentage, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, 47.5 passer rating. Then on Sunday, really lit it up. 54.5% completion percentage, 223 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks, 87 passer rating. So that was really, really great. The injury may have been a little bit scary for Shannon Harris. I thought that left shoulder, that non-throwing shoulder, may have been something that may not have been so great, but glad that he was able to get back out on the field, because Spencer Sanders, boy, with that 1 interception, I know that that is not great. Their hopes had they pinned their hopes on Spencer Sanders, I think we would have a very, very, very different outcome in this. It almost reminded me, actually, of, if you remember, this past year, the former head coach of the Giants, Brian Daboll, who ran into the medical tent after Jackson Dart, wondering if he was okay, mainly because Russell Wilson, when he stepped in, he stunk up the joint. So that was something that it instantly reminded me of right there. But definitely credit to Jason Bean doing such a great job there. This was Shannon Harris at the presser about Jason Bean's performance, and also you'll hear from Jason Bean about him peaking at the right time.
Man, I'm so happy for Jason, man. You know, the stuff that he's been through early in the season, you know, being with another organization, to be traded, to come to us where we already had, you know, our starter in Jordan Ta'amu, and, you know, Spencer was here too as well. And for him to sit back and just learn what we do from a scheme standpoint, the culture of how we operate, to come back this week, man, and we talked about it. I said, you're gonna be big for us. I promise you, man. On Wednesday, he told me, he said, Coach, I see it now. I got it, literally. And I said, perfect, man. And he's gonna win this game for us next week. So I'm so happy for him. And that guy showed a lot of grit today to come back in, after being hurt, and just lead us down on drive after drive. He showed a lot of grit right there, man. So I'm happy for him.
It's just, being in the playbook for, a certain amount of time, and then, playing against a team 5 times in a season, it's got to click sometime, So, I'm glad that it was this week, and, I'm glad that we got the dub today.
And I know that the league has got to be happy if the Ticketmaster maps, and, sometimes you have to take some Ticketmaster maps with a grain of salt, but this is what it was at 10 p.m. Eastern on Monday night. This is what it was. They had opened the upper sections of Audi Field. And in the time since Tuesday, all the sections were open. And in the words of Martha Stewart, that is a very good thing. That's a good thing, really, in this. The league definitely, if you think about it, there was a bit of a hosting jinx in this. The last 2 years, St. Louis, they were the hosts of the United Bowl, and they did not get into the bowl. They didn't get into the championship, and the attendance suffered, really, because of that. Now you have DC in this. Now, of course, granted, there was always going to be a little bit of incentive to go, especially if you're a fan of 50 Cent or any of the opening acts that are going to be part of this. But definitely it makes it easier if DC was in this. And now when you have everywhere open, yes, you have some resale tickets, that sort of thing. Yeah, some scalpers, maybe not to the extent of the Knicks, but you do see some tickets that are selling well above face value here in this. And a little bit of a pro tip for somebody who is in the market, and we base our show out of our nation's capital. One thing definitely that is the best value in this is the C sections of Audi Field. That's the club level. Club level is fantastic. This is the way that you want to experience the United Bowl. Yes, the tickets a little pricey. They've actually come down, if anything, from what it was earlier this week. But definitely, when you start to add things up, if you take Metro, that sort of thing, you're not parking. And if you're somebody who likes to get quite a bit of concessions, especially the food and drink, then really the club level pays for itself. I've been in the club level for a preseason NFL game, Ravens Colts, and you are still paying even in preseason. Yes, okay, it's a lot cheaper in preseason, but you are still having to pay for food, you're still paying for drink. So really the clubs in the NFL, in a lot of cases, not every case, but in a lot of cases, what you have is that you are just paying for the privilege of being in an air-conditioned area. Okay, that's what it is. With Audi, by contrast, you are getting an incredible value for the money. So do not sleep on getting club seats. It really, really does pay for itself. This could not be better. When you look at this, what is going to be happening, I think, tomorrow, this could not be better for the league. I always say this, intangibles matter, optics matter. This has the trappings of being the event of the summer. It really, really does. This is going to be the event of the summer. And this is going to be the third time that DC, including pre-merger, have made it into the United Bowl. It really, really is. And just to put a bit of historical context to this, The Commanders, all right, the Commanders in their history have made it to the Super Bowl 5 times. Their last appearance was in the 90s, 1992. The first one was in 73. Now, if the Defenders are to win this, then it will be a 2-1 record, which would be great. It's a 2-1 record. It will be a better start in their history than it would be the Commanders. So there is the storylines already as it is are already very interesting, especially with having Jason Bean in there facing his former team. But I think that the historical aspect of it is going to be really, 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 really fun in this. So let's see what happens here. I think for Louisville, great stuff on the night. I mean, Chandler Rogers, really, really great stuff over here. 60% completion percentage, 102.5 passer rating. Really great. Tanner Brown, he's going to get a lot of calls, I think, from the NFL on the back of his performance. And he did something that not anybody in the NFL has achieved up to this point, or at any professional football league up to this point. He did 2 60-plus yard field goals. I know of some NFL teams that could use a kicker. Just saying. Here's Chandler Rogers at the podium talking about his experience up to this point in this league.
Yeah, definitely. This being my first pro experience has been great. Going through my first training camp and such, even though it's a different time frame than usual, just going through my first pregame as a professional, just learning how to be a pro. I've always had the qualities. I've always had the mentality. I've always had the habits of being a pro, but you don't know what it is and what it takes until you get there. So just learning those first couple of weeks definitely helped me for right now.
There's something to be said, right, about what Chandler just said there. This is a league of opportunity. All a lot of these guys need, and this is one of the selling points of this league, all these guys need is a shot. And Chandler, this Chandler of a guy, is only 24 years old. So there is a lot of high upside, I think, when it comes to him. And when you look at the stats, I mean, his last stop was over at Cal in his collegiate career. His last stop was at Cal. But if I look at all of the statistics throughout all of his collegiate stops, you're talking about 64% completion percentage, 53 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, 143 passer rating. I mean, I don't know. Those are some pretty fine stats. He wasn't drafted last year in the NFL draft, went undrafted. There's a case to be made that he could be, at the very least, a camp body. Maybe he'll get some calls after tomorrow. We'll see. But I think that for both Bean and Rogers, there is really high upside. And I think that the markets have high upside. I think either market that wins this is going to get a real high upside. I think that this is really, of all of the matchups in spring football these past few years, this by far is going to be the best one. And it's going to be potentially in front of a sold-out crowd. And we love to see it. We really do. So credit to both teams on this. Here was what both Chris Redman and Shannon Harris said at the podium.
For the first year for us going to the United Bowl is amazing. And I'm just so proud of everybody for never giving up. What an incredible example it is for when things are down and life says you can't do it, you can still do it. And that's what this group did. They never gave up. They fought every game just like it was the last one. And I can't thank the players and the coaching staff and the whole administration from the bottom all the way to the top, I just want to say thank you for everybody. It's been an amazing run. We're not done. We got a big time atmosphere next year. We're going to be in the middle of, or next week, we're going to be in the middle of playing DC in their home stadium. So we're going to enjoy this one tonight and then get back to work. It's going to be a short week next week, and just really, really proud of guys on both sides of the ball. It took every person in this locker room to get where we're at, and I just want to thank them. And it was an emotional locker room after that win, so it was a lot of fun. I'll never forget it.
But for us to, to have reached the United Bowl 3 out of 4 years, right? It says a lot about this team and the coaching staff, our support staff, everyone on the same page. And this means a lot, But it also means a lot to our fans back in DC. And like I always tell them, we don't just play for the DC fan base. We are in the nation capital for a reason. We play for the whole nation. So we got fans across the globe, man. So we do it for them as well. And I can't wait to see these guys, man. No matter who it may be, who we may play, they'll be up for the challenge for sure.
Definitely means a lot to these guys and to the players. I also know that it definitely meant a lot to the Storm fans, in spite of the loss, to have a home game, yes, in Daytona Beach, but definitely really, really, really good stuff on Mike Rapoli's part and everybody involved in the league for pulling this off. It looked quite incredible. I mean, the optics alone were just really superb for that on such short notice. I mean, you have people like W. Scott Bailey over at the San Antonio Business Journal trying to raid on the parade here. What a fool he is. You ask him about how the Toros are doing, you're not going to get an answer from him. But definitely, really, really, really good stuff. The optics were on point. The halftime report that ABC produced was really, I think that they did a nice job on that. Really, really good stuff. I think that this gets the league closer and closer. Now, we all know, you and I that watch this, we know that this stuff is legitimate. But I think for the casual fan that comes in and looks at this stuff, this looks like a college football halftime, NFL halftime stuff over here. Insofar as the analysis, there's going to be that tomorrow as well, a pregame and a halftime. This is the first time that that's ever been done for this league, and I believe more likely than not, this is a test bed for what could, very well could, happen next year. And hopefully Fox jumps on this as well. So hopefully people will watch this stuff. I'm not going to really have the benefit of doing so because I'm going to be live in person at Audi. But definitely, if you're watching this stuff on the TV, do watch, because I think that this is a test bed for inclusion of these halftime reports and the pregame analysis before these UFL broadcasts. So really, really, really good stuff there. But what hasn't been too great, sadly, is Anthony Becht as regards the playoff record. I mean, the trouble of getting over the hump. I mean, this is almost like the equivalent of Dak Prescott, or maybe a better example of this is Marty Schottenheimer. You have a great regular season, but the postseason, it's not so great. In fact, if you look at Schottenheimer's postseason record, it's 5-13. It's 5-13. Regular season, 126, a little over 60% in terms of win percentage, and that is really good. And here's something, speaking of historical context, since we're using a little bit of historical context on this program, look at this. In the UFL that was done between 2009 and 2012, no relation to the current UFL, or the UFL that was done in the 60s. Did you know that there was a UFL in the 60s? Okay, maybe a lot of you are today years old on that one. But in the second UFL that was done from 2009 to 2012, Schottenheimer had a 75% win percentage in that regular season. Now, granted, that version of the UFL played way less games. He was with the Virginia Destroyers. They played less games. Anthony Becht, since 2003, he has had a 75% win percentage. Just so happens on that one. And, when you think about if you were watching the ABC broadcast on Sunday, Joe Tessitore, fantastic, by the way, he had mentioned that Becht in their production meetings said as much that this whole thing about getting over the hump, he's very aware because he wants to get to coach college, wants to get to coach in the NFL. Now, there are a lot of people in the NFL that share that kind of sort of commonality where it's like, yeah, regular season is great, but playoff performance, not so much. I mean, the question, what is keeping him from closing the deal? I was almost reminded here in our nation's capital, I'm reminded of, remember the whole thing where it was like, oh, the Caps and the Nats, no, well, not the Nats, the Caps, the Mystics, and the Wizards, they were all going to move to Alexandria, Virginia, that sort of thing. But the governor of Virginia at that time couldn't close the deal. You have to be able to close deals. And there's just a little bit of that kind of sort of, I don't know, a little bit of inertia there. And the fan base in St. Louis, they could not wait to move off of him. They couldn't wait to move off of him. They did. They got pro. And, with the game on Sunday, it was just kind of sort of, again, one of those things where it's like, oh, you get to the big dance, but then you kind of choke. Luis Perez, I don't know. Spring King, will they move off of him next year? Who knows? Who knows? And it's interesting with St. Louis, by the way, because there's this whole stuff about, oh, I'm not going to support the Battlehawks again, and we are just not going to support anymore, whatever. There was some stuff about, I guess, blaming the refs or whatever the case may be. But then, interestingly, Abdul Beecham in a tweet was like, look, this was not Rapoli, this was not the refs, this was us. But he's going to stay the course. And hopefully, the Battlehawks faithful will stay the course as well. So fingers crossed on that one. But it's just interesting to see some of these patterns now emerge with the longevity of this league now, the brief history that this league has. It's just very, very interesting. And look, for Becht, he's a very good advocate for the league. He probably, of all of the coaches in this league, he is somebody who really knows how to support and really spread the word about this league. So credit to him on that. I think that he is terrific. And, he is not going to be fired anytime soon. But I do think that there may very well, remember, the Storm are Rapoli's team. Okay. So if there's another playoff performance where he doesn't quite make it over the edge, then I think that there will be some interesting conversations with Mike Rapoli on this one. The Venn diagram, unfortunately, if you start putting up a Venn diagram between the Storm, Becht, the Storm, Becht, the Battlehawks, that sort of thing, it just reads, as the kids say, it just reads Cowboys. And, Jerry Jones may be very happy and very content with his team's performance, but I'm not sure that Rapoli is going to wait so long to get at least a playoff win for his team. So we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see on that one. But now it's time for the United Bowl pick'em. So it was a bit of a coin flip for me in last week's semifinal games. Got one of the two games right. Let's see if I can get the first ever United Bowl game correct in this. Jason Bean, look, as long as he is healthy, as long as he uses his legs, I think, in this, get that mobility going, averaged 8 yards a carry last week, I think he is going to really do very well. You have both quarterbacks, both Bean and Fisher. They are peaking at the right time, as are these teams. Louisville, in particular, they really got on a heater these last few weeks, and they have been incredibly fun to watch. I think this matchup, again, is one of the best matchups that I think we'll ever see in spring football. Incredible markets, incredible fan support in this. I think that whoever wins this, it's going to do wonders for them. Real good upside. I think the defenders are the underdog in this. And personally, at times, I like a very good underdog story. So I think in front of a capacity crowd, 50 Cent, the supporters section rocking, everything else that's going to be going on Saturday afternoon is going to be a wild, wild afternoon, folks. I think that DC will hoist that United Bowl trophy and make really good sports history in the nation's capital. So, love to see it. Definitely, as I said, I think that regardless of who wins, I think it is going to be a massive, massive win for this league. And what's also been a massive win has been the 2 episodes that dropped yesterday, the 4th and Goal documentary. Definitely check out our shorts. Be on the lookout for our shorts reaction to those right here on this channel, youtube.com/the channel/shorts. You can see all of the shorts that we have done. Spring Football Has Sprung OT. Those are our exclusive shorts. So definitely be sure to check those out. Folks, we are going to be absolutely cooking on this because also tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern, day of the United Bowl, we are going to have Spring Football Has Sprung, the 2-minute drill. So we're going to be dropping that 2 o'clock Eastern. In the words of the late Chuck Woolery, 2 and 2, right back at you. So really be sure to be on the lookout for those. We're going to have a lot of fun with this. We'll hopefully have some more video throughout the day at the United Bowl. Lots of good content for you guys. And even though, yes, the third season of the United Football League is going to happen, the end of the season, will happen tomorrow. This first season of Spring Football Has Sprung will not be over, at least for another week, because we are going to have the season finale of Spring Football Has Sprung next Friday, and we're going to be back in our usual midday slot. Of course, if you subscribe to youtube.com/the channel, you will be able to see that episode when it drops. So definitely be sure to check this stuff out, folks. I cannot wait for tomorrow. We're going to have so much fun, I think, with this. And for anybody coming down or coming up to our nation's capital, definitely do enjoy everything that Navy Yard and the surrounding area really has got to offer. I think that there's going to be really a lot of excitement. I think that this is going to be truly the event of the summer. So I know there's going to be another event coming up that you're probably going to be watching, the USA Paraguay game. So we'll let you get to that, but definitely be sure youtube.com/the CSE channel, like and subscribe and all that fun stuff. We hope to see you for the 2-minute drill tomorrow afternoon at 2 p.m. Eastern. So until I see you for that, please don't fumble in the end zone.